Elizabeth Chappell, a lifelong entrepreneur who finally found my niche. After years of new ideas and jumping from business to business, I figured out how to turn a craft into a successful career. In 2016, I started a monthly subscription box for quilters. That little startup has grown into a thriving, multiple six-figure business that I am so proud of. As a published author, designer of fabrics and patterns being sold throughout the world, my favorite thing to do is to teach others how to grow a career of their dreams. Each week, you'll hear from me or from other guests who are creative entrepreneurs, so you can learn exactly what to do and what not to do to grow a career that's more rewarding and successful than you ever thought possible. If you're ready to turn your craft into a career that you love, I am so excited you're here. Welcome to the Craft to Career podcast. Today, we get to meet Carina Gardner. She is a friend of mine, which we were chatting and realized it's been 5 years since we've been good friends, 10 years since we first met. So that's when I first started my business. So Carina is doing something that is totally, literally never been done before. She has started a university for design. Like literally, you can get a degree in design from her university. And it's pretty cool. She went to the University of Minnesota to get her PhD in design. And it's extra cool because that's where my dad worked. That's where I grew up, was in Minnesota. So we have that fun connection. But she and I have been in masterminds together. She was a guest speaker at this Quilterpreneur retreat that I hosted about 2 years ago. She is such a savvy businesswoman, and I really love what she's doing in her university. If you're in my orbit, if you're here listening to the podcast, you're going to love hearing from Carina and be very interested in what she's doing. So let's dive in and let me introduce you to Carina Gardner. I am so excited to have Carina Gardner here with us. Carina, thank you so much for being a guest on the Craft to Career podcast.
I know. I think this is the second time I've been on your show. This is so fun because there has been some time that has passed.
Yes. Well, we were just recording for your podcast and for your private community. We realized we've known each other as long as I've been in business, 10 years.
Yeah, that's so insane. So
I know.
I think we first met when I had a glamper at a quilt market, and that was 10 years ago, which is so insane.
Was that Houston Quilt Market or was that Utah?
It was Salt Lake because I pulled in my glamper, and that's the only reason I remember because my glamper was in town.
Yep, and it won like best booth of the show or something like that, which it deserved.
Oh,
which was so
nice.
Pivotal to your success is that award that you got.
Oh, yes. That award just made everything happen.
I love it. Well, and then, a few years ago, I joined a mastermind with you that you told me about. At that point in your business, what has changed? What did your business look like then? And what are you doing now in your business?
It's probably been like 4 or 5 years at this point. So when I was doing that mastermind, I had started a program called Design Suite. And I think a lot of people know me for that program. It basically is a year-long program teaching designers how to build businesses. During that time period, it has evolved because people who didn't know design, so initially you really had to know some design to come into my program. Because even though we were elevating people's design work, it was next level, right? You already knew a little bit of Adobe so that when I looked at your fabric collection, I could tell you if your master sucked and we need to fix it, or we need to create blenders, or we needed a better secondary or whatever. If you were a die cut designer, it was making sure your dash lines were working, making sure that the 3D cuts worked well, making sure it was on market for the crafting market. If you're working on printables or stickers, we're going through the design work for that. So it was a unique program in that almost everyone I knew who owned programs very focused on one particular aspect of design. And this program was for anyone in the design field in almost any realm. Like we actually had a ton of freelance designers as well to teach them how to build their own business, which I had been already doing for 13 or 14 years before that. This is my 18th year of being in business. So that was the unique aspect of Design Suite. And about a year and a half ago, we're about to come up on the 2-year anniversary. Design Suite was so successful, and the work my designers were doing was so successful that they started saying, I wish we could get some credit for this. And I was like, I wish you could get some credit for this as well. And man, I'm probably one of the few people in the world who could get you some credit for this because I have a doctorate in design. And so we started the University of Arts and Design. We are licensed with the state of Utah. We're exempt in multiple states. We have registration in California. So we created a university. That's the bottom line.
So, which is amazing. Okay. Also, on the PhD, I'm from Minnesota. As I recall, you went to the U of M, University of Minnesota. What did you study there?
Design. So my master's of arts is in design communications with a minor in art. My PhD is in design communications with a minor in art. They're one of the few programs that has a PhD in design. Why? Because the MFA is the terminal degree for design. So even many of my professors at the University of Minnesota had MFAs. There were a few that had PhDs. And the reason for that was that why would you go get a PhD when you can just end on an MFA? Well, the reason they built it was because they were finding that department heads, deans, all you have to have a PhD for that. And so graphic designers were never sitting on those boards. We weren't on those committees. And so because of that, they created the doctorate. And now we can become directors and so forth. There aren't in fact, I actually don't know of another PhD program. There might be a couple out there, but I have yet to have seen it. So yeah, University of Minnesota. I taught there for 5 years. I taught even after I finished my degree. I was adjunct faculty there, mostly typography. I was a typography designer, teacher, professor, and then packaging design. I was the juniors and seniors came into the packaging design class. So,
I mean, my dad worked at the U of M, but he was agriculture, so I had no idea that they even offered that this was a thing there. So very cool. I am very curious to chat with you about this idea that so many creatives have, especially within the quilting community, but dare I say, creative crafting community at large. People believe you cannot earn good money. Talk to me about this. What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't teach it if I didn't know you could make good money. And I even do it now. I own 3 companies, essentially. And the main company is actually Carina Gardner, Inc., which is just a design business company. So for many years, I made most of my income from just being a designer. And it's so funny because I had Lori Whitlock on who designs in a lot of different entities, but similar to me. And we got the same question. Someone said in one of our chats, can you make 6 figures as a designer? And we both laughed because both of us have been making multiple 6 figures for many, many years. And I think it's just because you're not rubbing shoulders with the people who are doing it, but I can name several people who are doing very well as designers, not as design educators. You know, sometimes people will say, well, did you make your money from education? And I'm like, I didn't even start really doing true education until 5 years ago. I've been a creative director. I did do well from that. But mostly the thing I did was just design. I designed for multiple entities, and I've had a great career as a designer. It's my favorite career, if I'm being honest.
So let's dive into that, because what I see, I'm curious if this is what you see. What I see, well, no, I'm just going to ask you, what do you think holds people back? You did mention not rubbing shoulders with people who are earning, but what other things, what do you see? Success leave clues. What do you see in people who are successful that's different from people who aren't successful?
There's a huge mindset shift, I think, amongst those who make money and those who don't. I think those that don't make money, there's a lot of victim mentality I see out there. There's also a lot of just simply you don't have the education yet to get there. And that's an unfortunate thing because there is education everywhere. I mean, the fact that there are digital courses like yours and mine out there, and I've seen so many others, sometimes people will come to me and they'll say, I think I want to come to Design Suite. And I'll kind of look at what they've got and I'm like, I don't know that you're the best fit for us. I think you actually should go somewhere else first and go get some baseline Adobe introduction or X, Y, and Z. Sometimes that's a better thing. There's a reason our university started with 2 master's degrees. So we don't take anyone unless you have a bachelor's degree to come do the master's degree program. We do have an undergraduate certificate program now, and that has been really great as well. But there sometimes are these baselines that people need and they don't realize it. So I'm not afraid to say, hey, you should go check out so-and-so's course or go over here and do this, because to me, education is a big piece of it. But mindset, it's crazy how people almost talk themselves out of doing the thing that they should be doing, because they're like, I don't think I could ever do it anyway. Versus, if you give me the right education or you give me the right resources, I can do anything I want, right?
Yes. And what has helped people with mindset? So things that I hear people say, I'm curious if you hear the same. There's already too many people doing it, which is almost contradicting themselves. Like, well, wait a minute. So you're saying you can have success because you're seeing these people who are having success. So just think on that for a second. But then you're saying, no, they've already filled the market. There's no room for me. I think people I've heard as well, I think just the doubt. Can I really do it? Do other people believe I can do it? I don't know. What are doubts that you hear people say?
I think confidence is really a big issue. But we see this not just in our entrepreneurial world. This is a female issue due to
Mm-hmm.
patriarchy. Truly, they have shown that confidence is what gets you the next position up, even in the corporate world. And that's why very often women don't get it, because they downplay their abilities and what they're able to do. And so men step up because they're always, I shouldn't say they're always, they tend to
Right.
be overconfident,
Mm-hmm.
and women tend to be underconfident. And so we see this definitely in entrepreneurism. We need to step up as women and be confident that we can do the thing. I think imposter syndrome plagues pretty much
Mm-hmm.
everybody. And I think that's just the feeling of, who am I to do this? And I would say the number one thing you should be able to say, and I remember this even when I started my university, is if I don't do this, who will? And I think that's almost like a responsibility thing. I feel highly responsible. There's no one else that I know of with a doctorate in design who can create a university that would actually help designers build businesses. So if I don't do it, who will? And if you are, whatever you're creating in this universe, sewing patterns, sewing techniques, sewing courses, die cut designs, whatever you're doing, if you don't do it, who will? And you think this market's oversaturated, but it's not oversaturated with your unique style and your particular brand. And so because of that, I can tell you right now, it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, I wrote that quote, if I don't do it, who will? I'm going to attribute this to you and share it because this solves so many entrepreneurial problems. Because if you feel that way about your product, you have found something really unique that you're passionate about. So even as you're saying it, as you said it, I could feel the imposter syndrome or whatever people might think. So, well, anyone might do it. Let's go to my course, Quilt Patterns. Well, if I don't, someone will do it. Someone will step up and do it. But here's the thing. What am I going to add to my course to make it so uniquely valuable that, like, if I don't do it, who's going to do that? That's what you want to feel with your product. So let's say you're creating quilt patterns. If I don't do it, who will? You can easily say, well, Elizabeth Hartman's already doing it, or name whoever, they're already, well, yeah, she's already doing that. So what can you create that you feel so passionate about, that is so solving such a problem that you feel like this has to be out there. I love it. That's just such a great approach to business.
Yeah. And I think there's a certain amount of integrity in that. I do not want to talk about politics, but I'm just going to say this. I think because so many of us don't ask the question, if I don't do it, who will? We get the kind of political leaders that we do. And
Mm.
I'm not saying one is right or the other, but so far as I've seen, I don't see a ton of integrity in general from any party at this point, because most of us aren't saying, if I don't do it, who will? Well, that's who will. People who are narcissists, people who are hungry for power. And, when I started the university, I did think, oh my gosh, Carina, you are crazy sauce. Like, what are you doing? But I just said, well, there's hardly anybody that I know of. I mean, even not just in design, but just in the entire United States, there is a handful of us with PhDs in design. Those that have PhDs have gone on to be academic leaders. So yep, I just emailed a friend who graduated with me. She's I don't know if she's dean, but she's something at another university. And I'm like, she's not going to do this because she's already dean of another university, you know? And so because I didn't take that route, I'm like, there's never going to be this one unique aspect ever taught in colleges. And my speaking, I spoke a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago at BYU, Idaho, and the faculty was hungry for information. I sat down to lunch with them 2 days in a row and just told them everything. They're using my books there. We have a faculty member on our advisory council at the university. And the thing that really has occurred to me is that because I've been in business so long, it was easier for me to build this university and be able to teach what we knew. And we hope that all art departments stop being the bottom of the pool at universities and the place where parents say, don't go get an art degree. We hope to change that. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah, exactly. Like if we want people to know you can earn money as a quilter, you can be the one to prove it. Like be the one, or if you want to be the one, I want people to know that sewing is fun and enjoyable. Who's going to help people know that? Be the one, like whatever that thing is. I really love that. So let's chat about the university process. This is very unique, never been done. And I think, well, a lot of things are unique about it, but it's not in one state in particular. This is like anyone can come. Is it from anywhere or is it just in the US or?
Well, we're at this point. So most people don't understand the university process. So it's the first step in building a university, should any of you want to do it. I'm not going to encourage you because now that I'm in it, ignorance is bliss, as we all know. And I was ignorant. Okay. So I thought, I have a PhD. I was encouraged to do this. I actually first spent a lot of time on Department of Education. The CHIA, you have to go through and start talking to different bureaus and kind of figuring out what the process is. I had a number of interviews and conversations, which really led me to the point where it was like, there were enough people who said, not only can you do this, Carina, you have all the right credentials to do this, but you can do something really spectacular with this. But just so you know, this is going to take a long time. And so I basically signed my name away for the next 10 years to do this. And I thought to myself, if I do this, this is not because of money. This is going to be because of legacy, because universities have to live on and you have to do all kinds of things to make them go. I was like, we're going to build something that lives on forever, hopefully. And so the first step is you must license with a state. And of course, for me, I'm in Utah. So we licensed in the state of Utah. That granted us the ability to give away degrees in the state of Utah. You go through a process. They do credit checks on you. Your person as yourself, you have to go through a number of things to make sure that you are a responsible human being. I told Elizabeth this. One of the things you sign is that for the next 60 years, you're going to send out transcripts Like that is one of the things I signed my name to, is that I'm going to send transcripts for the next 60 years. So this is a very serious thing. I would never tell anyone, just go build a university. Building a university is like, you have decided that this is your life's mission and that you're going to do this thing. So I signed all of the things, you guys. So we were able to take in only Utah State residents to come to this university. And we started with a Master's of Arts and an undergraduate certificate. About one semester in, we ended up bringing in the MFA as well. Through that process, we found out that we were exempt in 17 other states. That means that they took Utah's licensing as their own, in one way, shape, or form. And so we could be in those states. So we can take residents from those states. I can't remember what the list is, but basically like Arizona, Idaho, South Carolina. There's just a certain number of states that are willing to take it. And then last year, we registered with California, and that was about a 4-month process. So there was a certain number of things that had to be turned in for that. And that registration was with Utah licensing. So I can't get into it, but it all goes together. We got that in January of 2025. So we're right now able to register students in 19 states. I have seen on the internet, sometimes people are like, well, like, is it a scam? Is it, if you're concerned about that, if you're concerned about a university out there, you need to go look at who they're licensed with, who they're exempt with, and you can check the State Department to see if they're licensed. Most people think that accreditation is what gets you the ability to give out degrees. It is not. It is licensing. So all universities go through a licensing process. You can go to any university, go look on their website. They will state what state they're licensed with. So I went to the University of Minnesota. They are licensed with the state of Minnesota. And then they will also say, who they're accredited through. So there's a long process of licensing that has to go on first. And we're only a year and a half old at this point. And so we are still in the middle of that process.
A little baby university, but a legacy. I mean, I am curious. I'm going to ask all the questions. And so here we go. When we were in that mastermind together, you had talked about potentially working with Alex Hormozi and like selling your business. And then you're like, nah, it's not how the route I want to go. It's a little too masculine for me. What were you thinking at that time, and how did it pivot to where you are now?
I think Design Suite had grown. I've never grown anything as fast as I grew Design Suite. It was a multi-million-dollar business. It was, and we had grown it so fast. We had built a sales team. I had also joined another mastermind that helped me build an entire sales team. We were pretty big, and it was pretty incredible, especially for someone who had done well as a designer, but now suddenly I was in the education space and it was killing it. And I had considered, maybe I'll go to one of these Alex Hormozi events. Maybe I'll go check out this. But the more I dug in, the more my feeling was, and we just talked about this personal brand and the issue with personal brand. The more I dug into what I was doing, the more I realized that Design Suite would always be difficult to sell. And while selling and exit strategies are an important part of businesses because of, financial reasons, et cetera, that my motivation around it was more about, how do I give this information to designers, to art departments in a way that makes sense? And I just knew Design Suite wasn't going to be the thing. It was locked in with my personal brand. I was the only one teaching. It just was really difficult. And so there was the transitionary moment where I said, what do I really care about? And I'm going to say I had the luxury of that because financially my companies were doing very well. And I had this moment where I said, if money is not an issue, if money is not a thing, what would I do? I was like, Carina, you would do the hard work of making sure that designers everywhere had this opportunity to grow and build a business and have access to professors and people and mentors that were going to help them. And it became very obvious for someone like me, just because of my experience, that a university was a college of some sort was going to solve this problem. First of all, we would have the authority that we don't have as a design suite. Second of all, we would have things in place. As a university, I was telling Elizabeth offline, like, we have to have a succession plan. Whether I decide to exit or sell the university or not doesn't matter. We have to have a succession plan because I'm not going to live forever. And universities live for a long time. So that means we have to find a way that this thing runs no matter what, that transcripts are being sent out for 60 years after it closes. And so it became a matter of legacy and doing something bigger for the world. And while ignorance is bliss, I do not regret it because it's become very obvious from all the data that we've already started collecting between Design Suite and the university that this was the correct route. Design Suite was good. It is good. But the university is just that level up that I had no idea could exist.
I'm so curious how you grade something. Of all the things that I'm going to ask after that, what you just said, my mind has gone to grading. Okay, can I just ask, because I'm thinking in my class right now, we're going to go with Adobe Illustrator. For those who don't do Adobe Illustrator, just whatever, enjoy or fast forward. But okay, so for example, I'll teach how to create a school bus. We'll go through a few steps. I show them how to use these tools, and then I show an image and say, okay, now go create this. Come back and watch how I did it. But in yours, in a university, I'm very curious, because with Adobe Illustrator, this is getting into the nitty-gritty of Illustrator, you can make something look right, but once you go into their artboard, it can be a hot mess. So like how involved is the grading? Like that just seems like a lot of work on the grading side of things.
So we grade based on design, not on kind of all those technical skills, because we assume that your technical skills will come in. So like what you're talking about is what we call illustration, right? We're a graphic design program for the most part. And what you're talking about is what we do at an undergraduate level. So let me give you an example of this. We have a class called 101, Design on Fire Foundations, or Design Foundations on Fire. It's my exact graphic design foundations course I taught at the University of Minnesota, and with a little bit of a twist. And so what we're grading on is, so let's pretend you have to illustrate a flower and I show you how to illustrate it. Then you go and illustrate it. If you're an undergraduate student, you get to illustrate it exactly the way I illustrated it and you turn it in. I take a look at it and make sure that all your proportions are correct, your balance is correct, everything's good. If you're a master's degree student, you don't get to make my exact flower. You have to make your own flower, and it has to come back unique and original to you. So I taught you the technical ability, but as a graduate student, you have to know how to take the technical ability I taught you and design it to be something on your own. And that's a really small example of the difference between undergraduate and graduate. We use Bloom's taxonomy. So the bottom 3 levels, remember, understand, those are the things we do at an undergraduate level. At a graduate level, it's apply, not just demonstrate, it's create, it's analyze,
expound upon, basically.
Yes. And so you have to take it to the next level. So we do work with both, right? We do undergraduate and graduate, but even if it's the same video, the assignment is different.
Yeah.
And it's actually very easy to grade. Right? Like we're not crazy graders. Like to me, it's grading on ability, and you will get better as you go through the coursework. The nice thing about having Design Suite, and there's 17 courses in Design Suite, it was very easy to build stepping stone courses in the university. So you almost always take, the first semester is all design work because we're learning software, right? The second semester is 2 design works plus a business class. The third semester is 2 product design classes and a business class. And then you get into capstone. And I think we're the only university that I know of who does it this way. But instead of writing a master's thesis, you build a business for 2 semesters. And so we
That's
literally
so cool.
have analytics on everybody, how much money they made, what they did, how they did it, all of their like listings, the number of products created. I mean, we have data on everybody who's going through. It is fascinating. And that's the only
That is
reason.
so cool. So cool. I would love to see the data there.
Yeah, we'll probably publish the data. We need more students to go through, but you'll start seeing us presenting and publishing that data as the university gets a little bit older, right? We've had at this point
I
4
love it.
graduates in Masters of Arts. We've had 1 graduate with the undergraduate certificate, and our MFA is still going. We don't have a class of MFA until summer of 2026.
Very cool. Oh my gosh, that's just so practical and valuable, where you leave with a business, that it's not just some writing something, but it is a hands-on, boots to the ground, business. Which on that, can you give some examples or talk about, I don't know if you can share specific examples, but like what trends, what's working? Like what businesses are working? What's
Yeah,
working?
I'm a big fan of online to start, but I will tell you, we get a diversity of types of businesses. And the goal here is it's a learning atmosphere, right? So like if you're going to fail, you might as well fail with some professors and students around you. So the goal is the 2 semesters, as we know, businesses take a long time to build, right? So you get 2 semesters of insulation and mentorship
Mhm.
to make sure that you're on the right track so that when you leave, you're in good shape, right? It's still a start and it's still a learning process, right? So I will tell you right now, first of all, we always say, pretend you're going to make 0 money. Do they make money? Yeah, most of them make some money, but we always are like, pretend you're going to make 0 money. Instead, we're going to build your operations. We're going to build and understand your marketing. I personally love online businesses. So many of the students start there. So they're
Mhm.
building some kind of online business. They have a number of products they have to put up. They have shops they have to put them in. They have a number of listings. They're writing descriptions. They have to learn SEO. There's usually titles and understanding of that. Okay. So that's one type of business. And a lot of the students do that. We also have students who go into wholesale. So that means they are looking for distributors. I know that we do this with sewing patterns, right? Like, so you have to get distribution. Uh, the number of students who are making cold calls, like
Mhm.
phone calls to quilt shops, cold calls to distributors, showing up to trade shows, building a booth, like those are all part of the process if you decide you're going to go that route. We have students who do craft fairs and art markets, and they go that route. And then our kind of the last one we have is freelance. So then they are working with word of mouth or any kind of cold calling to get clients in the door, and they're doing that. So we have students who do a mix. So
Mhm.
and those, I will say, are the least successful because they're in what we call exploration mode. So they're trying a lot of things to see what is going to work best for them. I will tell you that the students that do the best are the ones that pick one and go all the way in it. But we like the students who do decide to do multiple things because they're once again in this bubble where they're going to kind of getting some help with all the different things. And then they just need to make a decision probably when they leave what they're really going to dive in on.
Fascinating. Do you guys help with web development or like a shop, like how to get your shop up and going?
So we actually have a class. It's a 1.5 credit hour class called Web Design, both for the undergraduates and the graduates. And we actually don't have them build a shop. We show them how they can. But mostly at the beginning, it's more about web design, like getting your online presence up, just having a decent website. I think a lot of designers focus so much on product, which we do have a lot of product-based classes, right? We have a surface pattern class. We even have a surface pattern certificate. And then we have a die cut class, a 3D design class. And we have a font design class, which I don't teach anywhere else except for in my elite design groups. I don't know anyone who's teaching font design where it's like you actually make fonts and then you sell fonts in the class. It's
Mhm.
crazy. But I think that we haven't delved into building out your own shop because so much of the time I find that it takes 2 or 3 years to want your own shop. I think most of us should be using online platforms because they already have audience, and most of us don't have audience. And so we're going to where the eyeballs already are.
So when you say building not a shop, but an online presence, what does that look like?
We love
where?
all the shops. So for you, it depends on what you are doing, right? So maybe you're doing digital fabrics. Maybe you want to look at Raspberry Creek or Spoonflower. You're doing printables. Maybe you should look at Teachers Pay Teachers or Etsy, right? Like doing die cuts. Maybe you should go contact Cricut, right? So it depends on what your product category is, but we usually like to start there because that's where your most competition is. I know that's people are like, but there's so much competition. Yeah, that's a good thing. It will level you up. And then you're starting to build a brand from that. And then at some point, you're going to want to build your own shop.
Okay. So on this topic of mindset, success leaves clues of your students, what are some recipes for success? Like the people who are really leveling up are doing XYZ.
I think the biggest ones are things you and I have already talked about: consistency, volume, over a long period of time. My best designers, almost all of them have usually been with me for 2 or 3 years. And it's like every year they make more money. They just make more money, period. They usually have a strategy when it comes to posting. There's usually either they are doing it every day, they're doing it once a week. I'm a once a weeker, and I have a certain number of products I'm always posting. They're being very smart about researching the online platforms, finding the one that best fits them, not just the one everybody says is going to be great. That's usually, and I teach that in my design boot camps. I'm like, let's open a spreadsheet and this is what you need to write in and this is how you're going to find it. I mean, that's literally the stuff I teach in my programs. The difference is my students are getting graded on it. And so they've got to turn in an Excel sheet with 20 shops in it, how they apply, what's going to be best for them. And they're doing the actual research. Let's see, volume, consistency, finding your niche, like finding that little niche. One of our students mostly does laser files, and she just found an extremely good niche and just went all in on it. And she's just making so much money. Even during the months, we have a calendar that tells you which months are going to be good or bad for online products. Wholesale's different. Wholesale's totally a different beast. But when they see that, they understand, this month is going to be a crappy month. This month is going to be a good month. And if they're not following suit, usually there's a problem with a number of things. 1, your SEO. 2, your title and keywords. 3, your preview. 4, the design itself. Usually the design itself is not a problem. It's almost always these other things in front of it.
And okay, so for the lay person who's listening, what do you mean when you say SEO, title, and all that? If they're like, well, this is a foreign language.
Yeah, SEO scares people, and it's really just thought process, making sure that you're good. So SEO is just search engine optimization. And we're getting into a stage where AI also is going to be playing a role in this, because how many times, I just did this. I had to put in a new lawn and I used AI. I was like, who's going to get this done the fastest? And it gave me the top 4. And I was like, then I go over to Google and I do it separately and it gives me a totally different list, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you're looking for are keywords. So when you're writing a blog post, there are usually 4 keywords that you use over and over and over again so that the internet finds you over and over and over again. The same thing is true when you're writing a description or a listing for your product anywhere on the internet, on your own website, on Etsy's website, on Spoonflower's website. Most people think that they want to be clever. They want to create a beautiful name for their collection. Don't. It's not useful. It's not useful at all. If you have drawn, I'm going to use chemistry as a good example. If you have drawn chemistry sets and you have a beautiful pattern of chemistry sets, you're going to want to call it chemistry, fabric, or wallpaper, whatever the words are, right? Science, maybe tubes, if you've drawn tubes in it. Maybe bubbles, if you've drawn, whatever the actual thing is that you illustrated, should be the words that come out. We make the assumption as creatives, illustrators, designers, people who use our eyes, that words don't matter. Words matter. We got to get good at words.
Okay, I'm curious your thoughts on this, and maybe this is like Pandora's box here, but I use ChatGPT for my SEO. And on my website, I use Yoast. It will like grade my SEO and all of that. It'll give me a green light if it's really good and red light if it's bad, orange if it's mid. I write it up first. So there is that, but I'll write it up and I'll put it in ChatGPT and say, can you please fix this to have really good SEO? Give me a meta description, give me da 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 da. It's always a green light now, and it just simplifies it. Do you recommend that? I know AI is very much for a lot of creatives, like don't touch it, but yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Not only do I do that, I probably am more extreme than you, Elizabeth. Like we use AI for every aspect of our business at this point. We are one of the few universities who gave a green light to AI right from the beginning. We teach AI within our coursework, so much so that there is a course called Creative Innovations. It's Creative Innovations in Color Theory, and 6 weeks of the course is embedded with AI for designers. It's because I know this is where we're headed, you guys. And if we're not doing it, I mean, if it can do it for me in 5 minutes, why wouldn't I be using it? Because I can spend more time designing and doing my stylistic things that are important for my business. It's layman work. Like use the AI to literally do it. I sat down with my entire team at one point and I taught them how to prompt correctly with AI. And so I taught them how to prompt, and then I showed them the exact process for building. Well, we start at a YouTube video. And it starts with that description. Then it moves it into the blog post. Then it moves it into the Pinterest post. And so we have an entire process that AI is now, and AI knows us so well at this point, within my own system, that it knows what I'm asking for.
So what haven't I brought up that you want to talk about? What's something that you're like, I really want to share this with Elizabeth's audience?
I think those of you who are creative, who are really excited about this, anything you want to do is possible. And I think people don't realize that. I think that they're nervous, they're fearful about AI. I think they're nervous and fearful about this new age that we're kind of moving into. I have never seen more possibilities, not only for making money, but for doing something you really love than I have now. When I first started 18 years ago, I had a PhD in design, and there were only a few of us who made it past digital scrapbooking, right? And it was all of us who actually had degrees in design for the most part, right? Now I think that the sky is the limit. Like there are so many things you can do, but most of the time we haven't explored enough to see what is really possible. So I would say open your mind to what you are good at. One of the formulas I taught Elizabeth's group in her in-person Quiltpreneur is my formula for Make Art That Sells, which is theme, product, and medium. And if you can figure those out and build a style, it will build brand differentiation for you. Your brand differentiation is just you. Or my favorite is Kim Kardashian likes to say, you are the product, you are the brand. So put yourself out there. Just do the work and it will come.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. And you have enough experience with enough students to speak from a place of experience and authority. You know what you're talking about. So I know my audience is going to be very excited about your university. They're going to be chomping at the bit. So where can they go to learn more? What if they're not in one of those 19 states?
Yeah, that's a rough thing, you guys. Believe me, if you saw the number of DMs I get, when are you going to be in, X, Y, and Z? You guys, the list is long. The wait list is extremely long, and we're figuring it out as we go along. So right now we're in 19 states. You can find out what those 19 states are by going to uad.education. Okay, so uad.education. We do not have an EDU site. And I will mention this, we are not accredited. Accreditation is a very long process. And if you want to know when your state or anything else happens to the university, we really recommend you follow us on Instagram. We're at University Arts and Design is the tagline on it. But go to our website. You can download our academic course catalog. So this is pretty incredible. Tuition prices, everything's, just like a regular university, we have a student portal, like everything that you would need to know about our university, tuition, how we do it. All of our courses are up there and available for you to take a look at. I will say for universities, because we're a new university, we are probably one of the least expensive MFA programs out there that I've seen. I always say, go look at SCAD. We're a third of their price for their entire program, for the entire program. Like it takes about 3 years to do an MFA. I believe, I don't want to quote it wrong, I want to say $86,000 a year is their MFA a year. Okay.
Oh my
a year.
gosh,
Okay.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Because we're a new program, we have the ability to be pretty low in price, and I can't promise that'll last forever. There is large stepping stones that we are having to do to become a university that does all the things. And so because of that, we're able to keep our prices low at this moment. So if you're in a state, we cannot stress enough that come join us for a semester. We have fall semester, spring 1, spring 2. Spring 1 starts in January. March is when we start our spring 2 semester. And then we have a summer semester as well. And a lot of students just go all the way through and just do it year round. Lots of students take a semester off. We have lots of students who take one course at a time. We're okay with that too. So whatever financially makes sense for you, we try to accommodate the best we can. You are graded. These graded all go into a transcript. We have a registrar on staff. We have a librarian. We have a library. All the things a university has to have. So you'll see all of that. If you are not in one of our current states, keep your eyes out because we're announcing them all the time. So keep an eye out. And I would say get on our university newsletter list, which can be just found on our website, uad.education, because it's so crazy. In Design Suite, I had a 6-month plan just because things were changing all the time. The university has a 10-year plan. So we know what's happening, what programs are rolling out. Some of you who are like, oh, I wish you had a bachelor's degree. Hang on, just hold on, just keep an eye on us. We're new, we're flexible and adaptable because we're all online. We do all the things a normal university does, but it takes a second to build out our entire faculty. We have actually quite a large faculty as is. I'm going to mention this. The one other thing we do that most art departments don't do is you are required to take an accounting for creatives course with us. So that means you have an entire semester in QuickBooks.
So important. Oh my gosh.
My students complain about that course the most. But our professor who's in charge of it, Amy Menrick, is amazing. She's a CPA, so you're getting great advice. She's like in the programs. Even regular accounting courses, they're not in the software. This is a software applied base course, and we love it. And I don't know of another program that does this. So we're trying to set you up for success. Everything we do is to set you up for success. So anyway, I hope you come join us. You will be, I want to say, pleasantly surprised at what you can do at a university setting that's online the way we do it.
That is so cool. Even hearing you, I'm like, do I have time in my schedule? This is amazing. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. So we have where to go check you out. What about you personally? Do you have your Instagram, anywhere you want to send people, your podcast?
Yeah. If you guys want to come hang out with me, Carina Gardner, CarinaGardner.com, Carina Gardner on Instagram, Make and Design with Carina Gardner is my podcast. And I actually only usually bring on an interview once every month or so. So Elizabeth is the interview I'm doing this last month. Most of the time I'm on there just giving design advice. What we found is through our stats and polling that most people just wanted me to teach design. So I teach design and business on my podcast, and I love it. Any student can tell you, especially the graduates will tell you if you want to go stalk them, what we're doing is next level. It's not being done anywhere else. And once again, the whole idea, if I don't do it, who will? I think we can change online and university education to really make students come out doing something really, really important and not just being like, where do I apply for a job? What do I do next? Like, we want to give you something that makes you so smart in this field and so pragmatic in this field that you're like, yeah, I got this. I know what I need to do next. So,
I mean, that is moving education to a whole different level. Like, I would love to see every degree leave students ready to jump right in and not be like, oh, like I learned these things that aren't applicable. And it's amazing. I'm really grateful you're doing what you're doing.
thank you. I'm super excited about it. Sometimes I tell people we're kind of like vocational school for a white collared situation, right? So you think about an electrician, they go to vocational school, they come out being an electrician. We're trying to do that for designers and artists.
So cool. All right, listeners, go and check it out. University Arts and Design. And Carina, thank you so much for being here on the Craft to Career podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
Listeners, was that not a treat? Oh my goodness. Carina is just so amazing at what she's doing and offering to the world. I especially love just that because you're an artist does not mean you have to be this starving artist. You know, like she mentioned, our parents are like, whatever you do, don't study art. You'll never get a job with that. She's literally helping you leave with a degree, knowing exactly how to earn money. So I really appreciate her passion, her mission, and all that she's accomplishing. So be sure to go and check out the University Arts and Design. And you can check out her Instagram as well, Carina Gardner. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed this episode, take just a minute and leave a review for the podcast. This will help other creative entrepreneurs to find the podcast. It's your way of paying it forward. And we'll see you next week with a brand new episode. Take care.